Hey everyone, welcome to the session on React Query, also known as TanStack Query. If you have ever struggled with managing API calls, caching data, or keeping your UI in sync with the backend, React Query is about to make your life a whole lot easier. In this video, we will go step by step through what is React Query is and why it's such a game changer. How does it fetch data in the background? How it uses cached data? Why it is better than other data fetching or caching methods? By the end of the session, you will have a solid understanding of how to integrate React Query into your project and why it is one of the most popular library in handling server state in React. Alright, you can open up VS Code or any editor that you're comfortable with. Something similar to VS Code work just fine. Next, open your terminal and create a new Vite app by running npm create Vite latest. So here the project name should be similar to what you see in the placeholder. It is in snake case. So I am going to give React query learning. And next select your framework. I am going to work as a Vite project and I want React as my framework and selecting a variant as TypeScript plus SWC. So I'm going to give enter. Now just go ahead and select all the default option. This will quickly set up a simple Vite project for us. Once that's done, let's go to the source folder, create a new folder and file. So here my folder I'm going to name here as components. Inside component I want to create few more new folders. So this folder is going to be related to React books and the naming case here is Pascal case, and next I'm going to create a file inside that saying react book.tsx. Similarly, I am going to create few more folders called cloud books and a file called cloud books.tsx and a main home page to render these both of the books. tsx. And finally, I wanted to create one more main file that is called app routes tsx. So we will use it later to handle routing in our app. Finally, in the terminal, let's install React Query by running npm install at TanStack React Query. Perfect. Now we have our setup ready. In the next step, we will be starting into each file, writing the code, learning step by step. You can also check out my report to see the full React query workflow, caching, fetching background, update everything there. Here I have downloaded few images related to React and Cloudbook. We will use them later to make our UI look bit more interesting. Now let's start with some notes and a bit of basic understanding before we jump into the coding. So we first a quick note to understand what JS, TS, JSX, TSX actually mean. Here JS and TS refer to JavaScript and TypeScript, two closely related programming language used mainly for web development. JavaScript JS. JavaScript is a programming language used to make your website interactive. It runs directly in the browser and it's one of the three core web technology: HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So what happens generally is that in your browser when you use HTML you can see the content. When you use the CSS you can see the styling. But JavaScript add interactivity to that, like doing some incremental or making it more interactive. So if you see this picture you will have a clear understanding of what does HTML does, CSS and JS. Here is a simple example of JavaScript function. So what this function basically mean is that I'm calling this function passing a string. So here not I'm not specifying any type or not telling this function I'm going to pass a string. So in general, in this place, if I pass even a number or a floating type, it's going to accept that and say hello one or hello Alice, whatever it is. So generally JavaScript is interpreted, dynamically typed, supported natively by all browser, can be used for front end and back end. But as I told you previously, if I'll be able to pass even a number here, that's not a valid one. So to overcome this kind of complication, we use TypeScript. So, TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript created by Microsoft. That means every JavaScript program is also valid TypeScript. But TypeScript add extra feature, mainly static typing. So, as I told, static typing, here in this function, you will have an understanding. Previously, this function did not have any type specified for an argument or for a return value. So, when we use TypeScript inside JavaScript, we can have types to JavaScript helps catch bug early. Must be compiled into plain JavaScript before running, popular for large scale app and framework, improve code readability and maintainability. In the previous function, if you see, I did not have any type specified what the argument must be or any return type specified, like what the function should return. So here, this TypeScript function, when we add extra feature, that is when we include TypeScript in JavaScript, we can add this feature. So now I am passing great Alice. There is no any error, but when I pass in place of string integer, I get a type error. So this is what the first point means. Help catch bugs early. And next, what I can say is that the return type. So this function is not going to return anything. So I'm specifying here it as void. So now I guess you will be having a basic understanding and difference what JavaScript and TypeScript does. Here it's a summary of what's the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript I have explained so far. Let's learn about what is JSX. So this pictorial representation itself tells you that JSX is nothing but JavaScript plus HTML that in turn combines and leads us to React JS. So yeah, so JSX full form is nothing but JavaScript XML. That is an extension of React project. So what it does is that it allow you to write HTML like code inside JavaScript. which React then turn into real DOM element. Like in previous JavaScript, when I'm explaining about the JavaScript, I would have shown you a function with console log. So here the same function that is written in the HTML code, you will get to know more understanding, like you can have a more understanding. So look like say HTML, but it is actual JavaScript. Make your UI code more readable and declarative. Must be transpiled to regular JavaScript file extension .jsx. So what it actually means is that, as I told you in the previous slide, like the function allows us to write the HTML code, but this HTML code will be transformed into browser readable format. So this is been done by a compiler called Babel. So here we learn about TypeScript TSX. Previously, I would have told TS is something that add extra feature to the JS. Similarly, TSX also does the same thing, right? We can write the JSX code in TSX. TSX will add type checking and feature to the JSX code. So that what this definition all mean. So TSX full form will be TypeScript XML. It's the TypeScript version of JSX. It allow you to write JSX code but with type checking. In JavaScript project, you have .js extension, and when you add type safety, you use .ts. Similarly, with React and TypeScript combination project, we will use TSX as extension. Same JSX code will be writing extra type checking, like to use type safety interface and other TypeScript feature. We go with TSX. So here you can see the example of the same program which I showed you previously for JSX is being used here. And extra what it does is that extra feature what it adds here is type. It's telling whatever the value it is going to take, it need to be string. In general, here you can see the summary of what's the difference in short form. So it's a JavaScript XML, TSX is TypeScript XML. This is dynamic, that is static, same as JS. There also you would have seen JS is dynamic, TS is static. This extension is .jsx, this extension is .tsx. And finally used with React JS, React TS. The main point, like previously I have told you and showed you a few examples. Similarly, you can see the point referring to that, adds type and interface for safer, more reliable code, must be compiled to JavaScript before running. So we will be having automatically a compiler like SWC. So here it will compile into JavaScript code and then run the code. In simple terms, JSX is equal to JavaScript plus HTML, where TSX is TypeScript plus JSX. Since we are using TypeScript with React, we use .tsx extension for all of our files here. And the first and the foremost thing, even before we start coding, is learning how to give shape to an object in TypeScript. We can define the shape in two ways: interface and types. So, what are types and interface? Both type and interface in the TypeScript are used to define the shape of the data, meaning what properties an object has and what types those properties are. They help you catch error early and make your code more predictable. In the previous example, when we were working with JavaScript, we saw that our function did not have any defined shape. It was pretty flexible. Then, when we switched to TypeScript, we noticed that the function had a specific shape For example, it expected a string as an argument. Finally, in TSX, we saw how we actually define the shape more clearly using types. So, if it is just a single argument, defining a type or interface isn't really necessary. TypeScript can easily infer that. But when you start working with a function or component that take multiple argument or return complex object, that's when we define the shape using types or interface become really important. So let's take a simple example to understand how type and interface actually work. Here I'll write a simple example of types. So type allow you to create type alias, a custom name for a type. So I'll initially when you're defining a type, you should use keyword type and then a name for your type. So here I'll give user equal to curly braces. Inside the curly braces, I'm going to write name. So and I specify name is string. Next, I add age and specify the age need to be in number. Finally, I am telling this user is admin. So is admin in the sense is admin can be true or false. So I am writing boolean as its type. And then what I am doing is that when I call a user variable, I'm saying them the user is going to have the value of the user is going to be like this. So I'm specifying the name must be in string, age must be in number, this admin must be boolean, either true or false. So you can use type for so many things like object shapes, unions and intersection, primitive aliases, function signature. I can also write example for this. So when I say union type, I am using type keyword specifying ID. So and I'm saying this ID can be either string or number. The symbol what I am using here is called union type. Next, as I told object shape, you can see here itself, I am giving a shape to the object. And finally, function signature. So here I can write type add. So this is a function signature I can say. The different way we can use TypeScript, like we can use for union type giving the shape to the object and for function signature. So interface also defines the shape of an object, but it's more extendable and object oriented. Let's see this with some example. Here in place of type, I'll just change it to interface. Interface doesn't need a equal operator, it just need a curly braces. Similarly, now it doesn't make any difference. In place of type, I changed it to interface and I removed the equal operator. So next I told you can extend the interface easily. So we can see that in example, interface admin extends user. I am defining the permission and that is going to be string of array. So Now, what this actually means is that this admin is going to have all the property of user. Some function or some constant value is going to take interface admin as the property will include all the property that is permission, name, age is admin. Example, constant admin is to admin. So here in case, so how could you confirm that it is taking or extending this value is that in case if I use something that doesn't present there, at the time I get a error. So it's only going to take the exact shape what is present in their respective interface. And we have one more feature also in interface, that is merging feature. So what it does is that I am giving an interface and the name of the interface is employee, and I am telling the name of employee must be string. And again I am defining the same interface employee and specifying the age is number. So we can merge this both of the interface, that is constant u is to user. I am defining a constant. So this constant must have name, I'm sorry, here I want to define the shape as employee. So name is Alice, age is 40. In case the same thing, if I try to add something that doesn't exist, I'm going to add is admin, I'm going to get error because this particular property doesn't exist in this specific interface. So this is how the merging take place automatically. When to use which? Use interface when you are defining objects, classes, or APIs. You want extendability and merging. Use type when you need unions, intersections, or custom complex type. You prefer a single flexible definition. So we have seen all of these type like objects or extendability, merging, union, single flexible definition, everything in example. So now you will be having clear understanding of what is interface, types, TSX, JSX, TS, JS. Now let's start writing the real code that is actually required for React query.